When I was reborn back on the day my sister and I chose our husbands, I discovered I could suddenly hear other people's thoughts. On the surface my sister Amelia looked shy and composed, however the ecstatic voice in her head crashed straight into my ears. This time I'll be the first to give birth to an heir. Then without hesitation she rushed to seduce the husband from my previous life, the man who only cared about his own desires, who gave me triplets. Meanwhile the cold, untouchable man who never even glanced at her in our last life was left to me. She thought she had won. After all, choosing the man with the stronger desire should make getting pregnant easier, right? I watched her excited figure disappear into the distance and slowly smiled. Amelia, this time you can fall into hell all by yourself. In the center of the hall, attendants carried over 2 bouquets of roses in different colors. The black roses represented Marcus Zillman, the eldest son of the Zillman family and first in line to inherit the family. He leaned back in his chair with a blank expression, like a perfect but cold sculpture. The white roses represented Noah Zillman, the younger son of the Zillman family. He was the illegitimate child, a faint smile rested on his lips, making him look gentle and refined. Before I could even sort out my thoughts, a voice suddenly rang in my ears. This time I'll be the first to give birth to an heir. It was my sister Amelia Foster's voice. Instinctively I looked toward her, only to realize her lips were tightly pressed together. She hadn't spoken at all. Her eyes were locked onto the bouquet of white roses like a hunter staring at prey. Just wait, I'll steal him away soon enough. Her voice sounded again. In an instant I understood, I had been reborn, and somehow I could hear other people's thoughts. From the meaning behind Amelia's words just now, she had clearly been reborn too, otherwise she never would have said something like be the first to give birth to an heir. Sure enough, the next second she stood up and picked up the bouquet of white roses right in front of everyone. She shyly pressed a kiss to the roses, then she walked straight over to Noah and handed them to him. Mr. Noah, please take care of me from now on. The headmistress of the bridal academy immediately spoke when she saw this. Jane, since Amelia chose Noah, you'll marry Marcus. As soon as those words fell, unconcealed triumph flashed through Amelia's eyes. She was laughing in her heart. Jane, this lifetime you'll be the one living like a widow. In our previous life, Amelia had rushed to choose Marcus first in order to become the lady of the Zillman family. Marcus had a shark-like instinct for profit, and in just a few short years he expanded the Zillman family business across all of Europa. However, everyone knew he stayed year-round in the top-floor suite of the company building and refused to let anyone get close to him. Amelia had tried every possible method, from wearing a revealing nightgown and knocking on his door late at night, to using document delivery as an excuse to enter his study. She even sneaked into his hotel room while he was away on a business trip. Every single time though, she was mercilessly thrown out and humiliated like a joke. Later she never became pregnant. At a family banquet, Donna Zellman of the Zellman family publicly declared that Amelia had something wrong with her body, before directly kicking her out of the family. Meanwhile I married Noah. Everyone thought I was unlucky, an illegitimate son had no real power and wouldn't inherit much of the family fortune. But after we got married, Noah became almost obsessed with me. Every day he stayed by my side, shopping and eating with me and taking me on dates every late night, and their intimacy was well known whenever they passed by. Later Marcus suddenly died. The autopsy report showed heavy metal poisoning as the cause of death, but nobody knew who did it. Noah inherited the entire Zillman family, and I went from being the wife of a family outcast to becoming the Donna of the Zillman family. Amelia became jealous to the point of madness. She invited me out shopping only to drag me off the rooftop of a mall so we would die together. The moment the feeling of weightlessness swallowed me whole, I only heard her screaming, "Why do you get to live better than me?" When I came to my senses I smiled lightly and answered, "Sure, I happen to like Marcus too." I picked up the bouquet of black roses and walked toward Marcus step by step. The closer I got, the stronger the pressure around him became. It felt like an invisible wall of ice surrounded him. No wonder Amelia barely dared to breathe in front of him in our previous life. I tried to listen to his thoughts, but his mind was completely silent. There was nothing. Instead, Noah casually rubbed the rose petals between his fingers while turning to look at Amelia. Immediately I heard his voice. "So beautiful. She'll probably look even prettier when she's crushed." His tone sounded gentle, but my fingers trembled so hard that I almost failed to hold on to the roses. Marcus, standing in front of me, lifted his eyes and glanced indifferently at me, then he reached out, accepted the roses, and pinned them to his chest. I immediately thanked him softly, and he withdrew his gaze. His personality was cold but his fingers were warm. Looking at the expressionless man in front of me, I felt safe for the first time. Compared to Noah, who was a poisonous snake hiding beneath human skin, Marcus's danger was straightforward. In this life I wouldn't hand my fate over to anyone else again. I wanted to survive and get my own money, status, and right to choose. My wedding and Amelia's wedding were held together, and the scale was grand. Early on the morning of the ceremony, 2 wedding dresses were delivered to the estate at the same time. In our previous life, Marcus never even showed up at the wedding. Meanwhile, Noah had arrived early in the morning, busying himself with everything like the perfect husband everyone said Noah was, the one who truly knew how to care for a woman. And this life was the same. Noah personally drove over to deliver Amelia's wedding dress while a driver delivered mine. Carrying the dress box upstairs, Noah smiled sweetly. I don't trust anyone else touching Amelia's wedding dress. Amelia immediately threw herself at him and kissed him, before looking at me provocatively. Jane, why didn't Marcus personally deliver your wedding dress? I smiled lightly. It's fine. The wedding dress Marcus gave me was the finale piece at the Paris auction. There's only one in the world. I like it very much. Amelia's expression instantly darkened. Inside her heart she sneered. What are you showing off for? Let's see if you can still smile once your dress splits open later in front of everyone. My heart stirred slightly, but my expression remained calm. Sure enough, she had someone tamper with my wedding dress. After she and Noah left, I picked up the dress and inspected it carefully. Very quickly I found a circle of loosened stitching hidden along the inside of the waistline. On the surface nothing looked wrong, however with one hard pull the entire dress would rip apart instantly. I smiled, took out a needle and thread, and sat down to sew it back together. Afterward I even added several hidden clasps to reinforce it. By evening the wedding officially began. The entire estate was brightly lit and guests held champagne glasses while chatting among themselves. As expected, Marcus never appeared. Just like Amelia in my previous life, I stood there alone, enduring the strange looks and whispers coming from every direction. When Amelia walked over hand in hand with Noah, her face was flushed and she walked unsteadily. It wasn't hard to guess what they had just been doing. The moment she saw me standing alone, her smile became even more smug. She deliberately leaned against Noah and whined in a sugary voice. Honey, my waist is so sore. Noah immediately wrapped an arm around her, gave a low laugh, and started massaging her waist. I knew she was doing it on purpose for me to see. She wanted me to get jealous and lose control in front of everyone. I wasn't stupid though. In our previous life she had stormed off on the spot and made herself the laughingstock of the entire event. Anna Zillman's expression darkened immediately. The others also said Amelia lacked composure and wasn't fit for the position of eldest daughter-in-law of the Zillman family. After the wedding, Donna Zillman made things difficult for her at every turn and found fault with everything she did. I wouldn't repeat her mistakes. I picked up my wine glass and smiled graciously at the guests filling the hall. Marcus has an important business deal to handle today, so he truly couldn't make it back in time. Later during the family speech I'll speak on his behalf. I hope everyone won't mind. As soon as I finished speaking, the whispers below quieted down. Donna Zillman, seated at the main table, glanced at me with a little more satisfaction in her eyes. For a family as powerful as the Zillman family, appearances mattered more than anything. At a time like this, the daughter-in-law absolutely couldn't panic. She had to carry herself like the lady of the house. Amelia noticed that glance from Donna Zillman too. A trace of irritation flashed through her eyes. What are you so smug about? When Donna Zillman gives out the gifts later, I'll make sure you humiliate yourself in front of everyone. Being able to hear other people's thoughts really was a good thing. At the very least, whenever someone wanted to hurt me I'd know in advance. Soon enough it was time for the gift ceremony. The attendants brought out 2 boxes containing the Zillman family's inherited black rose necklace and white rose necklace. According to tradition, Donna Zillman would personally put them on us. I straightened my back and walked toward Donna Zillman, while hearing Amelia count down in her mind. 3, 2, 1. Now's the time. I heard the countdown in Amelia's mind and kept walking. Donna Zillman lifted the black rose necklace from its velvet box and stepped toward me. The hall was perfectly quiet. 200 people watching. Amelia stood 3 steps to my left, her face arranged in the soft smile she always wore when she was certain she was about to win. I felt the clasp settle against the back of my neck. A small click. Then nothing. The necklace held. I had spent 20 minutes in the dressing room earlier, examining both boxes when the attendants briefly set them down. The clasp on the black rose necklace had been partially filed, a hairline weakening, invisible unless you knew to look. I had switched the springs inside both clasps with ones from my own jewelry case before they were sealed again. Donna Zillman fastened the white rose necklace on Amelia next. The sound that followed was a sharp, thin snap. Then the scatter of diamonds across marble. 40, maybe 50 stones, rolling in every direction across the floor of the hall. The sound was extraordinary, that particular silence of 200 people holding their breath at once, followed by the soft percussion of gemstones finding the grooves between tiles. Amelia's hand flew to her throat. The white rose necklace lay broken on the floor. She stared at it. I crouched down and quietly began collecting the nearest stones, placing them carefully into my palm. It's all right, I said, at exactly the volume the room needed. These can be reset. The craftsmanship on the original setting was already aging, it was only a matter of time. Donna Zillman looked at me. Then at Amelia. Then at the floor. Her expression did not change, but her silence did the work her expression didn't need to. Amelia's thoughts came through like static, This wasn't supposed to. How did she? The clasp was supposed to. She caught herself and smiled. It was a convincing smile. She had always been good at those. But Donna Zillman had already looked away. The rest of the ceremony passed without incident, largely because Amelia had spent all her preparations on 2 traps and had nothing left. Marcus still did not appear. When the family toasts came, I stood and spoke briefly and clearly, handling the Zillman family language the way I had learned it in the previous life after years of watching from the side. Every phrase Donna Zillman valued. Every reference to family continuity and dignified restraint that the room needed to hear. When I sat down, there was a small wooden box on the chair beside mine. No name. Just the Zillman seal in black wax. Inside, a single authorization card in Marcus's handwriting, signed and witnessed by 2 family lawyers. It granted me full speaking authority at any Zillman family function in his absence, with immediate effect. He had sent it before the ceremony began. He had not told me. I set it on the table and did not make it into anything. But across the hall, Noah noticed. His eyes moved from the box to me and stayed there for a moment longer than they should have. His hand, which had been resting on Amelia's waist, tightened almost imperceptibly. I heard his thought, she has that already. Already. That night, I was taken to Marcus's residence. It was exactly as I expected, large, cold, organized down to the millimeter. The kind of house that had been lived in by someone who controlled his environment as a substitute for controlling other people. Everything in its place. Nothing soft. Marcus was not home. I did not send for him. I walked the house slowly with one of the household maids and listened. The maid's name was Clara and her thoughts were entirely transparent, concern about whether the new mistress would find fault with the linen. I liked her immediately. 2 other servants in the kitchen worried about the house schedule shifting. Acceptable. But the man who brought the evening tea, his thoughts were different. Not anxious. Calculating. 3rd day from now. The capsule in the blue tin. He won't taste it. I lifted the tea, looked at it for a moment, and set it back on the tray. This tea isn't quite right, I said pleasantly. The water temperature is slightly low. Please make a fresh pot. He took it away. I watched him go. Then I walked to Marcus's private study, sat at his desk, and began writing down exactly what I had heard. Marcus came home at 2 in the morning. He found me at his desk, still writing. He stood in the doorway for a long moment. This is my study, he said. I know. I set down the pen. I needed a surface without servants nearby. He looked at the paper in front of me. Not reading it, just registering that it existed. There's a man on your staff named who, I said. He brings your evening tea. I believe he has been adding something to it. Not acutely dangerous, not yet, but cumulative. I slid the paper across the desk toward him. This is what I observed tonight, including the timing and which tin he mentioned in his thoughts. Marcus looked at the paper. A very long pause. In my thoughts, he said. He wasn't thinking quietly. He looked at me. I kept my voice level. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to have the tea tested. Independently, with a laboratory you select. If I'm wrong, nothing is lost. If I'm correct, I paused. Then we have a problem with a longer history than tonight. He picked up the paper. He did not say thank you. He did not say he believed me. He read the paper carefully, folded it, put it in his breast pocket, and walked out. I went to my room. I slept better than I had in either life. 3 days later, a different man brought my morning tea. I did not ask what had happened to who. I did not need to. When Marcus and I passed in the corridor that afternoon, he stopped. You were correct, he said. About which part? The cumulative element. And the longer history. He looked at me for a moment, the way he looked at business reports, assessing weight and reliability. How did you know? I pay attention, I said. He held my gaze for a moment longer than was necessary, and then he walked on. Small. Almost nothing. But I had been watching him in the previous life for years without his notice, and I knew, for Marcus Zillman, that extra second meant something. At Amelia's end, things were moving in the direction I had expected, but faster. Noah's romantic devotion, which Amelia had chosen specifically because it felt like victory over my previous life with him, was showing its first seams by the 3rd week of marriage. I knew because I heard her thoughts at the first family Sunday luncheon. He told me what time to eat again. He said the doctor needs to check my hormone levels twice a week. He said I shouldn't walk too far. He said I shouldn't see Jane without him present. She was sitting across the table from me, smiling at Noah as he spoke to the Zillman cousins. But her thoughts were a rising hum of something that had not yet become fear and was not quite yet suspicion. Just the first awareness that the cage had bars. I said nothing. I drank my tea and let the luncheon proceed. Thank you for listening to Channel Sapphire Novel. By the 2nd month, Amelia's social performances were taking more effort. I could see it in the way she laughed at Noah's jokes, the fractional delay, the calculation before the smile. The genuine joy from the wedding day was gone, replaced by something managed. She tried to talk to me once, in the garden behind the Zillman estate during a family tea. She came over while Noah was speaking with one of the estate managers, and she sat beside me with her hands folded in her lap and said, quietly, "Is it always this cold with Marcus?" I looked at her. "Cold how?" "He barely comes home. He runs the family business," I said. "He's occupied." Something flickered behind her eyes. The thought was, Noah is always there and I cannot breathe. I waited. She didn't say the rest. She stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked back to Noah as he returned from the conversation. He put his hand on the small of her back and leaned close to say something, and she laughed. Her thoughts while she laughed: "Please stop touching me for 5 minutes." I thought about the rooftop in my previous life. "Why do you get to live better than me?" I thought about my answer. "Because I stopped wanting your life." The inheritance board meeting was held in the Zillman family's private conference center, a room with no windows, a long table, and portraits of Zillman men spanning a century on the walls. Marcus sat at the head. I sat to his right, which was either an oversight or an intention. I had learned to treat the ambiguous gestures as intentions until proven otherwise. Noah sat across from us, 3 seats down. He had been managing the pressure well. The smooth smile was intact. The gentleness was operational. But I could hear the undercurrent of his thoughts, and the undercurrent had shifted in the last 2 months from patient to urgent. If the medical results are not what they promised. If Amelia cannot, he stopped his own thought midway. He had trained himself not to finish certain sentences, even internally. That, I noted, was more dangerous than a person who thought carelessly. The meeting was about the quarterly business review. Unremarkable. But at the end of it, one of the older board members raised the succession documentation, specifically, the question of whether Noah's position as an illegitimate son entitled him to any inheritance stake in the event of Marcus dying without issue. It was a routine question. Noah's answer was too fast and too smooth. "I would never presume to benefit from my brother's absence," he said warmly. "Marcus is in excellent health and I support his continued leadership fully." He was looking at Marcus when he said it. I was looking at Noah's hands. They were perfectly still. That was the wrong stillness for an innocent man. I glanced at Marcus. His eyes had not moved from the board report in front of him. But after the meeting, when the others had filed out and only the 2 of us were left in the room, he said, without looking up from the documents he was still reading, he rehearsed that. "Yes," I said. "You saw it." I noticed the stillness. Marcus finally looked up. Something in his face was different from the usual watchful blankness. Not warmer, exactly. More concentrated. "My headaches," he said. "They began approximately 4 months ago. Consistent with cumulative low-dose heavy metal exposure," I said. "Which takes time to build to dangerous levels." "You knew this." "I suspected it." He was quiet for a moment. "I want you to help me build the case," he said. "Everything you hear, everything you observe. I need it documented and corroborated with physical evidence." He paused. "Not because I require your help. But because you are positioned to observe things I cannot." "I know," I said. "And you want Noah exposed." "I want to live," I said. "In this life, that requires Noah to stop." He held my gaze. "Then we agree," he said. "I gathered the evidence over 6 weeks. The laboratory reports on the heavy metal concentrations in Marcus's blood, drawn by a doctor Marcus trusted and sent to an external facility under a false name. The results showed traces consistent with a compound used historically in bookbinding inks, now discontinued. It did not occur in normal environments. The servant who had been removed from the household but not reported, Marcus had tracked him to Noah's secondary property. He had been given a generous payment 6 months before the wedding. A second servant, one of the kitchen staff, had been carrying supplements to add to Marcus's imported cigars. She had been told it was a health tonic. She believed it was. But the supplement matched the compound in the blood report. I heard her think about it during a routine grocery delivery, and I told Marcus that same evening. He looked at the report for a long time. "He started before the wedding," Marcus said. "Before Amelia chose him. Before any of this season's arrangement. He had a plan before the choice was made," I said. "Amelia's selection simplified it. But he would have found another way. She chose him thinking she was stealing from you. She was choosing for herself," I said. "She wasn't thinking about me. She was thinking about what she wanted." Marcus set the report down. "The gala is in 2 weeks," he said. "The Zillman family's annual foundation event. Full attendance. Donna Zillman presides. The board, partners, family members. Everyone who matters," I said. "Yes." He looked at the evidence folder between us. "Can we be ready?" "I've been ready," I said. The night of the gala, Amelia wore white. Noah wore the kind of easy smile that had once convinced everyone in this family, in the previous life and this one, that he was the warmer brother, the kinder man, the one you could trust. I wore black, and the black rose necklace repaired and reset by the Zillman family jeweler, its clasp now the strongest thing in the room. Marcus arrived on time. He stood beside me for the first time in public with the particular stillness of a man who has made a decision and is at peace with it, which on Marcus looked almost indistinguishable from his ordinary composure. Almost. Donna Zillman noticed. She noticed everything. The exposure came midway through the evening, during the Foundation Awards presentation. Marcus stepped to the podium for the annual family address, which he had always given briefly and without theater. This time, he spoke for longer. He thanked the board. He acknowledged the year's work. And then he set a folder on the podium, opened it, and looked at Noah across the room. He did not raise his voice. He simply said, "I want to discuss a matter of family protection." Then he gave the floor to the family's independent legal counsel, who had been seated in the third row for this exact purpose, and who laid out the evidence in the clean methodical language of someone who does not need to dramatize what the facts already say. The laboratory reports. The servant whose location, payment records, and signed statement. The kitchen supplement, tested and matched. The timeline. Noah's access to the household had begun 18 months ago, before the marriage selection, through a business partnership he had established with one of the Zillman estate managers. The financial motive, a detailed accounting of what Noah stood to inherit if Marcus died without issue. The room was very quiet. Not